what sport is the healthiest? I know I came at it from a certain perspective. I'm interested to hear what perspective you came at it from.
So I wanted to start with classical, traditional, healthy in quotations, right? You go to the doctor and they say, you need to exercise more. They always mean cardio, always.
Yeah, 100%.
So in that vein, I would say that you have a few options. You have like a marathon runner, you have crew, you have cyclist. Now, because I know way too many people who have knee injuries or all sorts of injuries from marathons, and I know way too many people who have gotten in bike accidents, I'm going to say rowing and crew, according to traditional medicine, is the healthiest sport.
That's an interesting one. So that didn't even come up on my radar, but just listening to you say it and thinking about like what a typical crew athlete kind of looks like and is, I think you're probably pretty right. I think that's a pretty good one. For me, the way I came at it, when you say health, now you're right, doctors usually mean like cardio, but when I hear health, the first thing that pops into my mind is like longevity.
Yep.
And so a lot of times when we think of physical specimens that we think are like these super healthy athletes, most of the sports that produce those physical specimens, those sports themselves don't tend to have a lot of longevity. Think of like basketball or football or something like that. Yeah, some players can have long careers, but your body gets just destroyed doing those types of things. And a lot of them end up, like with long-term issues from it. So when I hear that and I think longevity, I started going through some of those traditional sports, and then I landed on swimming because I was like, okay, that's a really, obviously there's very little impact to the joints. I mean, sure, there's certain issues that people face, but low impact. You can do it if you're a teenager or if you're 80 years old. And also at the highest levels, such as the Olympics, you have somebody like Michael Phelps, who, when you look at somebody like that, you go, okay, if I had to guess, he's probably really healthy just by looking at him. You don't know, obviously, but yeah. So that's where my mind went, was swimming. And so it's funny that we both chose a water sport, though.
Yeah, low impact.
Exactly.
When I think of
where I came
swimmers
from.
too, I like them because they're not super lean. They're not like
Yeah.
6% body fat. They look like just regular people. They look like you and me.
They look like regular fit people. Yeah.
Right. So I like swimming. I don't like that there's basically no leg strength involved at all.
So actually, I'll pause you right there. So the notes that I took, the notes that I took right here were what I said. So I think of longevity, but then I also think of just functionality.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think swimming necessarily gives you that functionality, full body functionality anyways, like you're saying. Mm-hmm. And so actually what I wrote maybe swimming from a longevity perspective, but functionality might have to come from complementary work. So I'm thinking like a swimming program with accessory land training. So I think that maybe your crew, as just going with the pure sport view, crew is probably a better choice because it does give you that full body.
So crew is non-functional, I would say.
Yes, but it gives you the full body piece though.
It does. But if you have skill, so cardiovascular output, I think, is a skill as much as lifting weights. So strength is a skill as much as, being comfortable around a certain stimulus. So you're skilled in rowing, but now I put you, how often are you running away from someone in a boat?
Right. Yeah. None.
How often are you, so when I think of traditional medicine, that's why I wanted to start there first, because I don't agree with all traditional medicine.
Yeah.
They also say, your
pharma.
BMI is the most important thing when you go to the doctor's office, which doesn't really matter that much.
Yeah, and the pharma industry is kind of crazy and corrupt too.
Just a little.
So there's a lot to argue against traditional medicine for.
Yeah, so cardiovascular health, something like swimming, something like rowing, something low impact, even cycling, but I just think it's too dangerous because there are so many variables you can't control.
Yeah.
Both of those sports are also expensive. So if you're trying to live on the lowest budget, you can't like buy a boat or you can't get a pool membership. How do you work around that? So
Mhm.
then I wanted to look at like the top sports. So you have football, soccer, basketball, baseball. I'm even going to throw hockey and golf in there because I feel like those sports are pretty popular.
I considered golf as well, but I shied away from it.
So purely playing those sports, I don't think are going to get you where you need to go.
So yeah, that's funny. Like I said, I went with swimming and then I added the caveat of you need to do something else, like some sort of land training with it. But let's, like you're saying, look at purely the sport. I would say basketball.
Upper body, lower body, there's coordination. You have cardiovascular fitness because you're running up and down the court basically the whole time. They
The
don't really
whole time.
stop.
It's crazy cardio.
Yeah.
Like you said, the coordination piece, that's a good one to point out. So you get that aspect of it. Um, but yeah, crazy cardio. And even though there's impact, it's not as dangerous as something like football. Although, knees and ankles do take a beating.
Yeah. I mean, I always forget how much cardio there is because when you watch a basketball game, every person is super big. So they take like 5 steps and they're at half court. But the
Yeah.
court's actually pretty large.
Whatever you think they're doing for like normal folks like us, it's like twice as much.
At least. I
Yeah.
mean, they're like 7 feet tall.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah, I mean the contact thing is hard to quantify too because you're gonna get beat up. So football, really low lifespan for any athlete in that sport, period. And there are exceptions,
Yeah.
but I don't think that matters. I think you're gonna get walloped, and then there's the whole like CTE and the whole concussion piece, which comes from football.
Yeah.
I think it's an excellent display of athleticism, but it's not good for you.
Yeah. It's definitely not good for you.
I
I,
will say though, I've seen some of the most athletic moments in a football game ever.
100%. I don't know if it's like fundamental to athleticism or if it's just how we've been conditioned. But for me, it's football and basketball. When you see some of those guys make some of the crazy highlight reel plays, it kind of does embody like athleticism, if you ask me. But
Yeah,
again, I
yeah,
can see how.
the highest skill display. I put soccer close to that top list too, but you're really limited. You can't use your upper body at all.
Yeah.
So you're kind of not that you use your lower body in basketball, but any sport where you're walking around, you have to use your lower body. But I mean, watching a guy dive basically like a 2 yards, one hand catch, and then pull it in, and then keep running, or like another human being is trying to actually kill them and they don't die. And they do that over and over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah,
Football,
I think if you're looking at just the sports, though, and we're looking at those traditional sports, I still like the water sports because I really do think if you have access to those things, that it's like a great way to go. But if we're not talking water sports, then I'm going to have to say basketball and soccer. Yeah, I think those are both kind of similar.
yeah, baseball for me is low on the list. I played that sport for way too long and it was so boring. You could actually be obese and be a decent baseball player if you can throw and catch, which is
Yeah,
a shame. I
for
will
sure.
say though, like the sport is evolving just like all sports are. You can't just be like a chunky, pudgy guy who knows how to hit a baseball anymore. It doesn't. That's not how it works.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, like you said, all sports are evolving, but that's also a good point for football too. Obviously, you can be obese and be a great football player, depending on your
Yeah,
positioning.
position matters a lot too, but I don't know. I just can't get behind like factory farming large people to just be a wall.
It's pretty, yeah, it's pretty crazy.